Greetings, I am John the Verbose, and this video is my YouTube Pagan Challenge video for week 38 on what does the autumnal equinox mean to you. So, diving in. Speaking of diving in, I actually have a little dry erase board that I actually did drop into the water like 2 minutes ago, and the camera wasn't recording yet. So I figured one of these days I'm going to end up in the water, or the camera's going to end up in the water. This is just from the dollar store. So, yeah. But it's fine. I'm sure it'll dry off and it will probably be still be usable. Anyway, so equinoxes. Early on in my practice as a druid, I would often forget that the equinox even happened. The autumnal, vernal, whatever. And so I still have that problem to a large extent with the vernal equinox, though I've been trying to observe it more and more often. And because it's like you have the summer solstice and the winter solstice, and it's like these two power days, and then halfway in between them you have the equinoxes, which is where that power is balanced out. It has this neutral mindset to it. And mosquito, hi, go be a mosquito somewhere else. And so it's like, because of that apparent neutrality of the equinox, it's like, oh, it's just the equinox. That's the way that I looked at it for the longest time. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter so much that I missed it. It's just a day. It's halfway between the solstices. And so I was like, no, let's make something out of it. Start observing it. Try to observe it. And so luckily, once I had entered the Reformed Druids of North America and started a grove, I'm brushing off mosquitoes. The autumnal equinox is actually a very significant time for those Reformed Druids in the order of Belanos. Belanos being a Gaulish solar deity. Their times are supposed to be the summer solstice and the winter solstice, respectively, which was definitely important to me already. And so they were in the rite of passage to enter the order of Belanos. When you are bestowed with your ribbon of office, it says that wear it on the solstices and any other days that you deem appropriate. And so I was like, perfect, I can wear it whenever I want, but it will help me observe the flippin' equinoxes. And so I get to wear it. I've already worn it once. I attended an ADF ritual this last weekend for the autumnal equinox, and when I wore my ribbon, even though I'm not there representing the Reformed Druids of North America, just being there, it was a great opportunity to wear it. And then my own Oakdale Grove is having their ritual on Sunday the 25th of September. And this is also very significant, not because I'm in the order of Belanos, but the autumnal equinox itself is significant to any Reformed Druid who has a grove or proto-grove. And I would say particularly a grove. Proto-grove is basically a group of druids, a group of Reformed Druids that has a minimum of 3 members, and even that's kind of a gray area. And you're supposed to hold elections to decide who's going to lead the rituals and whatnot. And for formal groves that have an ordained third order priest, should follow the Book of the Law, chapter the 1st, verse 7 through 11. Now there shall be instituted in the grove 3 officers, whose duty it shall be to minister unto the needs thereof. And first among them shall be the archdruid, who shall be a priest of the 3rd order or higher. And the archdruid shall preside over the druids assembled. And second among them shall be the preceptor, who shall be a druid of the second order or higher, and he or she shall deal in the spiritual insofar as directed by the archdruid. But she or he shall act foremost in affairs not of the spiritual, that is, the secular. And third among them shall be the server, who shall be of the first order druid or higher, and she or he shall assist the archdruid insofar as she or he may be called to serve. And none shall serve in these positions, save it shall be that he or she is selected by the members. And none shall serve, save it shall be that he or she is worthy to serve. And selection shall be made each year during the period of Fór. Fór being the Irish word for autumn. There's a little bit more to it that the Book of the Law doesn't really hash out, because there's a lot more room for expansion and interpretation. So, the server assists the archdruid, and we covered that in the Book of the Law. The server will also set up the ritual sites. They will mix the waters of life. And the waters of life, I've mentioned before, is whiskey that is diluted with spring water. And then they shall also tend to the fire, because in the ritual, depending on how long it is, the fire might start to go out, or it might get out of control, or you know how fires go. That's pretty much all that they need to do, and it is an elected position because of the responsibilities that they do have. And even though it's the title of server, they are not a servant. They actually have a very important role, and I'm grateful for anyone who serves as my server, because even though we do have elections, we still take turns doing things. Like, there might be times that one of my Grove members was like, may I be the preceptor? And I'll be like, yes. And then, or there might be, may I lead the service on this high day? And I'd be like, okay, because there's no reason for me to say no. And then the second office is that of the preceptor. And so it was mentioned in the Book of the Law that the preceptor tends to the secular duties of Grove operation. And so what is that? Well, that's planning events. That's organizing things, and I'm repeating myself in different ways because I am John the Verbose. And then in ritual, they answer the catechism of the waters of life. And then one of the things that is by interpretation allowed, and is something that they have done at the Mother Grove at Carleton College, and so if they do it, then everyone else says that they can do it too, is that they can ordain druids to the first order. And so that's my interpretation of the Book of Customs, chapter 6, verse 9. And that's if the preceptor is only of the second order. So it's like, as the groves grow and mature, it's like they tend to all eventually end up at the third order, at least in my grove. Of the active members who will be eligible to vote, only one is of the first order, and the other four of us are in the third order. Well, and two of us in the third order are also in the sixth order, the Order of Belenos. So yeah, preceptors must be of the second order or higher, unless it's proto-grove. The preceptor position is something that anyone who's been in the Order of Dimolay would understand, because it is a direct inspiration from the Order of Dimolay, which is Freemasonry for kids. So our founder, David Fisher, was in the Order of Dimolay, and so the RDNA political structure is based off of that offshoot of Freemasonry. So it in itself is not a Masonic tradition. And then there's the third office, the office of the Archdruid. And so they tend to the matters of the spiritual. And so they preside over rituals, consecrate the waters of life, and they answer a call to service. That is the hallmark of the third order. It's not for prestige. It's not for controlling people. This is where it contrasts so much with like Gardnerian Wicca, where it's this power struggle and lots of drama from what I've heard, because I've run into so many people who were formerly like in a Gardnerian or some type of coven, and they got out of it for the most part because of the drama, the power control. Yeah, so that is not supposed to be present in a Reformed Druid setting. The Third Order Druids, the First Order, the priesthood, they are supposed to be bowed down in humility and answering a call to serve. And if they're not serving others, I mean, if they're doing something to control others, then that is not in alignment with their vows. And of course, the Archdruids must be of the Third Order or higher unless you are in a proto-grove. And with our elections coming up this Sunday, I'm putting it out there as I did in the previous years, because so I've been consecutively re-elected since my first Archdruidsy in 2013. And so I was elected in 2013, I was re-elected in 2014, 2015, and nobody really expressed a desire to campaign. It's not campaigning against me, because I kind of put it out there. It's like, is there anyone else that wants to be Archdruid? I will gladly do it. I'll gladly run as incumbent, and maybe that's a psychological yielding point for some people because of the fact that I am offering to remain as the incumbent, that they'll just like stand back and let me do it. And last year we didn't even use ballots. It was all like verbal hand raising and whatnot, because at the time there were only 4 of us active members. In 2014 there were 7 of us. In 2013 there were 6 of us. And so in those years ballots were actually very significant. And so this year we have 5 members who are eligible to vote. And to have eligibility in my grove, since groves are autonomous in how they carry out their voting, I consider active members to have attended at least 2 rituals in the previous calendar year. And so there are 5 of us that qualify for that. And then if somebody else wants to be Archdruid, I am totally fine with that, because I would then run for Grove Preceptor, because I'm already doing these videos. It's a very mundane task that I do. I'm not seeing to anyone's spiritual needs necessarily by doing this. And so it is the Preceptor's job to plan events, which is what I've been doing anyway. I've been trying to just stand back and wait for my Grove members to say, it's like, hey, what are we going to do for, Lunasa? And so I'll kind of stand back and wait to see if somebody is going to actually make those plans, and then I'll just go with it. But it's like I've got all the social media stuff going around. I've been very much fulfilling the role of the preceptor, and if I could say so myself, I've also usually been the one to prepare the waters of life in ritual. So I'm doing everything. And so that is why in the Reformed Druid tradition they want to divide up the roles to different people. And that's also to prevent burnout. So it's important to do it democratically. It's important to divide up the work. And I think that's how a lot of RDNA groves have survived without doing this at all. And a lot of RDNA, and there are really only 30 to 40 active groves out there, and I'm not sure if they all follow the Book of the Law, because even though it is called the Book of the Law, since many interpret this to be a non-dogmatic tradition, it can be very much to them a book of recommendations. So, but I could go into Druid politics deeper and deeper because it's there. But that's not what this video is about. I think I've covered the topic of this video for today, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. For once, I'm John the Verbose, and I'm not done talking yet. Forgot to mention that it's autumn. This is also my favorite time of the year. I stopped recording, stood up, looked at the fall colors that are just emerging on the trees. And I was like, how could I overlook this most significant part of this time of year for me? And it's fall. This is when I switched to my gothic rock playlist. This very earthy stuff. And like, Clan of Zymox, The Machine in the Garden, The Last Dance, Model Chaos, that sort of stuff. And the weather's finally cooling off. Some of the plants are dying back, and the bugs are going to go away soon. There's still a lot of mosquitoes out, and there are dragonflies flying over the surface of the water and like nipping up these cloud of gnats or mosquitoes or something over there. And so it's time. It is time for the weather and just outdoors to be saturated with autumnal splendor. So, and things falling from the trees. And this willow, I always thought willows hold on to their leaves like late into November. This one is probably just not doing so well, but yeah, autumn. That's enough out of me. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.